Welcome back. I'm so glad you could join me today. Today, we're going to do a nice landscape where it includes water, all sorts of stuff. I don't want to get too much in detail. But let me run the colors across the screen that you'll need to paint along with me. While you're doing that, let me tell you what I got done up here. I have a 16 by 20 inch canvas, pre-stretched, double prime, and before adding a thin layer of liquid clear, what I did was I got black gesso, made it seem like foothills in the distance. Then I made it seem like some grass, something along those lines. Then I made the indication of some bushes, maybe some land over here, maybe space for water. We'll make it up. But I was just making up some shapes. And so I allowed the gesso to dry. And on top of the gesso, I put a thin layer of liquid clear. Other than that, it's ready to go. Now, let's get ahead with the painting. It's really hot today for me. So, yeah, I want to finish early. Right now, the perfect thing would be like a lemonade. Okay, since I don't have liquid white, I'll be using white to manually, I said manually, to like change the tone of the color by myself rather than relying on the liquid white. So notice even after painting in that blue sky, you could still see that silhouette of the trees and all that. So we want that. That's good. You could even put some blue. It'll benefit us. You might think it won't, but if we're gonna put greenery, it'll benefit us. Just scrub in a basic old sky. All you do is just pull in some phthalo blue. You choose how dark or how light you want it. I want it pretty dark in the corners and lighter towards the center. Something like that. Like that is something where I'm satisfied with. Now, I'm gonna go into a little bit of phthalo blue, and then let's just create the indication of some water. Man, it's hot over here. It is so hot. Just pull in some blue. Just really scrub it in. I don't care if it's all blue. Scrub it in. We don't care. Okay, let me wash the brush. This is truly the fun part of this technique, washing the brush. Man, I really picked the wrong day to be outside. I wish I would have painted inside. There's been multiple times where I filmed indoors, but the quality of the painting or something always turns out bad. So I ended up not posting them. But I had recorded before in indoors. Look at that. All blue, everything. Perfect. Now, let's go ahead And let's do with the 1 inch. Let's go to through some cadmium yellow. Let's come up here. I think I want some of my land to be around there. You know what? I'm gonna use a bigger brush for this. But right now, this brush is perfect for highlighting my distant foothills. Okay, just like so. You can pull up, go across. So simple. So now, so right after this, my audio cut off. So I'll be doing a voiceover so you guys know what I'm doing. So right here, all I'm doing is after loading up my 2-inch brush with cadmium yellow, I tap that paint into my bristles and I tap the bristles into the canvas. And since there's blue paint below, it turns into green. That's simple. I can make it land. I'm just continuously tapping in the grass. So after that's done, I move on to do some reflections. I do that by tapping in a little bit of yellow into my brush and I just pull down. Although it may not seem as reflections, it all comes together in a little bit. So then I decide to grab a fan brush and paint in the evergreens that I put in with gesso. So I start making a green color, mixing a little bit of phthalo blue and mountain mixture just to darken up that green. And I tap in the highlights, each tree at a time. May not stand out as much, but I still put it one by one. And I continue by doing it to, as I mentioned, to each and every one. You can't leave any tree left out. You have to highlight each tree, whether you think it's important or not. And by the way, if you guys aren't subscribed, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Around 90% of you who watch the videos aren't even subscribed. So please, it would help me out and it won't cost you anything. So if you could do a friend a favor, that'd be wonderful. So I continuously put on highlights, but since I noticed they weren't really showing as much because of the green behind, I added a bit more cadmium yellow just to make the highlights seem a bit brighter. Well, that seems to be working just great. The little extra yellow turned out to help me. So now I'm just cleaning my brush. So give me a sec just to clean this brush and get back. So now with the palette knife, I'm just putting in a trunk for the evergreens so it could support the evergreens. If not, those trees will fall down. At least I imagine that. Each tree needs a tree trunk. You can't leave them left out like that. And when you're painting, make up stories. Stories will help make the painting more interesting. Because if you're having not as an interesting time, your painting is gonna reflect it. So make up stories, make it fun, make it interesting. It'll make the painting process more interesting and your painting will come out better. Trust me, I used to not believe in that, but now I notice it does reflect in your paintings. So now with the 1 inch brush, I'm just tapping in some highlights. As you may notice, I did not put any dark color. The reason being is because the dark color is the gesso I put. So you could still tell from dark and light because of the black gesso I put and allowed to dry. After that, I just get a little bit of cadmium yellow on my 2 inch brush that I was using before, and I just tap in some grass in there, just so somewhere one could stand on and just walk around. Maybe even a perfect place for a cabin to go. And I have to do the same for the other side. So all I do is load my brush and just do the same for the opposite side. And so the bush wasn't really showing its contrast, it was blending in with the grass. So I decided to make like a brown color and just put in what seems to be a little dirt or sand just to separate the bushes. In this case and scenario, I should have probably put some dark color, but it's still fine. It can be part of the painting. So now, as I mentioned before, I put in a cabin somewhere where one can stay when they're camping or doing outdoor activities. I think this would have been a nice place for someone to stay at. So I decided to make a little cabin. Maybe not to live in, but how I mentioned, to stay in when camping. So now I just highlight that tree and I just put in a little roof indication of some wood just so it could be there and you could really see that cabin because without the highlights it's just a dark shape, you could say. Now I scratch in a little door almost and just put the basic indication with a little bit of paint. That paint I used was mountain mixture, and the paint I used, well, there's no particular color because I did Van Dyke, not Van Dyke brown. I used red and green, mixed it up, and I added white to it. So, different shades for everyone. And while I was talking, I was putting in some grass, just evening out the cabin and making it a bit more even. You can't just put a highlight in or around the house, but not everywhere else. So I just fixed that real quick. So now that gessoed tree I put in, I'm just putting in some dark color just to see it since we lost some of it, but I brought it back. And with that same dark color, I'm using to put in some what the base of some dirt just for the land to stand on and that distant foothill to stand on as well. If not, everything would come down, collapsing. Well, not really, but it would disturb my vision. I wouldn't be satisfied with it. And so I just highlight everything with that brown color again, just to make it look like some dirt is around there. Something like so, something delicate, and just going across and every single one. Although as I may notice right now, I didn't put that on the other land where I was putting in the tree. Oh, there we go. I put it in. That was starting to disturb me, but luckily I put it in. And then I highlight it with some of that brown color. Now, with the same brown color, I'm going to highlight that tree. I can't just have dark color. I need to highlight it to make it seem like tree bark, like if it's just out there. Something like so, something delicate, just little by little by little. When you're doing this, don't rush it. The more you rush it, it's not gonna benefit unless you have experience and you've been painting for quite a while. But for those who are beginning, don't rush this. Take your time. Go one by one. I was rushing it a little bit, but it still came out decent for me, but it could have come out better for me. And I just put a lighter highlight on top of the highlight just to make it look like there's some sun. And for the spots that didn't really get a highlight, that's all I'm doing there. Nothing too crazy and out of this world. And again, I'm just fixing the bottom of the land by tapping in some green highlight, making it look like some grass, and just repeating it because it seems like I wasn't satisfied at the time. And all I'm doing there as well is just breaking up the corners. I didn't want a straight line, so I broke up some of the corners, not all of it. And just like that, we could call this painting finished, but I chose to continue it by putting in some water lines just around so. But if you're painting this, you could leave it as it is, or you could just put a few water lines, or you could put as many as I'm putting. It's all up to you. You're the creator of your painting. So I'm just putting in more water lines, or as I should call it, water ripples. Just little ripples of water just going across so lightly and so interesting. And it makes your painting a bit more interesting. But you don't have to do this, as I said. You could have left it as how it was before, and it's still a great painting. But when you're doing this, make sure you keep your lines straight. If not, it's gonna look like the water's gonna run out. And right here, I'm using pure titanium white and just tap and sliding. And then I come on top with a 2-inch brush. You could use any brush and just go across to make some of the lines look more delicate that are like fading away. And I still had some time to spare, so I decided to make a path for the cabin. No, we need a path for whoever stays there for them to walk on rather than stepping on that grass. So I just put in some dark color, most likely mountain mixture, and then on top of that I put in a brown highlight made up of red, green, and white. Red was alizarin crimson, green was made out of cadmium yellow, and phthalo blue. And I just used titanium white, and those were the colors that made up that brown. And then I'm just fixing up the corners with some of that green color. And just going back to the bushes again, just trying to mess around with the painting a bit more. So I'm gonna make it look like there's some hanging down limbs on this tree. I call it hanging down because I'm just pulling down just to make it look like someone got a scraper and just scraped that tree crazy amount. From afar, it doesn't look that effective, but close up and in person, you could definitely tell it. I made the tree a bit taller just to make the tip a bit more pointier, just to please the picture, the painting. And then I wash my brush again. And then I load my script liner again with some titanium white and just making some delicate water lines. And so I still had some time to spare. Even though it was scorching hot, I still wanted to make this painting interesting. So I decided to put in some rocks, some pebbles, right in the water, just right above the water near the land. Maybe the water crashes in those rocks and just pass by. But as for the picture, That's it for the painting. But I just continue to highlight it a bit, putting in some highlight afterward. I'm just putting in the base color just so when I put in the highlight, there's a contrast. So I use the small side of my palette knife and I start signing off the painting video. I hope you guys enjoy this video as I enjoy doing it for you. Even though scorching hot, it was well worth it. It's an easy one, it's just more of preparing it. I hope you enjoy this painting and goodbye.